Hello and welcome to Pixels and Pinfalls. My name is Edward. This is Maggie again. Say hello. No? Okay, it was worth a try. Now, we are into WrestleMania season. The road is well on the way. So let's have a look at trying to predict a possible card and some winners and losers of those matches. Now, full disclosure, I'm recording this before the Royal Rumble even happens. So let's see how wildly, massively different the card actually becomes come WrestleMania 36. Because for all we know, the winners of the Royal Rumble matches could be Paige and Edge. Don't think it will be, but who knows. So let's start off with the pre-show. Obviously we're going to have the two Battle Royal matches, the Andre the Giant Memorial for the men's and the women's one as well. And I'm predicting that these are going to be won by Buddy Murphy and Lacey Evans. The company seems pretty hot on both of those at the moment, and giving them this little kind of showcase piece at WrestleMania, hopefully they can use that to kind of build some storylines for both of them going forward. Who knows? I'm also predicting that the Intercontinental Title will be on the line in the pre-show, where the champion Braun Strowman, yes, Braun Strowman, who I think will be taking the title from Shinsuke Nakamura before we get to WrestleMania. Whether that will necessarily happen at the Rumble, probably not. I don't think the match at this point has been made for the Rumble, so chances are they'll just have an interaction during the match. But it's very possible at Elimination Chamber or at Fastlane, or even if there is that match or that show in Saudi Arabia, it could happen then. And this will kind of be Nakamura's rematch, effectively, which I am predicting that Braun Strowman will win and retain the Intercontinental title. Hopefully from there Shinsuke can kind of go off to the main event scene again. And finally, to essentially main event the pre-show section of the show, we will have the NXT Women's Title. Yes, you heard me right, NXT. They will be featuring at the Royal Rumble. Obviously, they featured very heavily at Survivor Series, and I think they will feature very heavily at WrestleMania as well. And we will have a women's title match, Rhea Ripley defending her title, because I think she will still have it by then, against Dakota Kai. Now, I was trying to rack my brains on the heel side of things for people that legitimately could come up with a storyline with Rhea Ripley for this match, and also it wouldn't hurt them to lose, because I can't see Rhea Ripley dropping the title too quickly. Obviously, she is fighting Bianca Belair at TakeOver Portland if she manages to get past Toni Storm at Worlds Collide, which I think she will. And people like Io Shirai, Bianca Belair can't really then get another shot at it. Io Shirai could do with actually winning the NXT Women's Title, probably from Rhea Ripley potentially, but she can't go up for the title and lose again. So Dakota Kai, with everything that happened with them at War Games, is very possible her and Tegan Nox could kind of build their rivalry into a #1 contendership thing, and she could win that and then go on to face Rhea Ripley here. Right, let's move on to the main part of the show and start off with the Smackdown Women's Title. Bayley defending against Alexa Bliss. Now, I can't really see anybody else on the face side of things now other than Alexa Bliss, who is in a position to be facing Bayley for the title at a show like WrestleMania. Alexa Bliss was out injured this time last year, so she wasn't able to kind of build anything to a proper WrestleMania match. She just ended up hosting it, which was kind of their way of trying to involve her as much as possible without her getting too physical. And she hasn't held the title for a very, very long time. They are still quite high on her, and her and Bayley with kind of the roles reversed would be quite an interesting program. Obviously they've both got seconds in Sasha Banks and Nikki Cross as well, and that could play into things going forward, which would be quite nice. And I think that Alexa Bliss will probably win this match and become a, I believe, 6-time women's champion. Next up we have Randy Orton versus AJ Styles, a rematch from the year previous, a match that AJ Styles won. It seems pretty clear that they are building these two to a rivalry again for WrestleMania. They're really only just sort of starting it at the moment with the whole stealing each other's moves thing. This can easily go on to something at the Royal Rumble and beyond, and I think that Randy Orton will probably get his win back from the year before. Next up we have the Women's Tag Team titles, the Kabuki Warriors defending against Fire and Desire. I can't really think of any other teams involved in either of the rosters really that could get involved now. The Iconics seem to have dropped off the face of the earth. If Alexa Bliss is going for the women's title, that kind of takes her and Nikki Cross out of things. Obviously the Riot Squad is no longer a thing, and Bayley and Sasha are kind of more at the kind of the women's title scene rather than in the tag division. Nia Jax and Tamina have been split up thanks to the kind of proper brand split in the drafts. I did think maybe that they could get a NXT tag team involved, but really the only one that I could see properly challenging and maybe winning would have been Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai, but obviously that's no longer a thing thanks to the heel turn from Dakota Kai. So I think this will just be a straight 2-on-2 tag match, which I can see the Kabuki Warriors retaining. Next up we have the Smackdown tag titles, the New Day defending against The Miz and John Morrison, the Usos and Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. It's going to be another one of those throw as many people into the tag team division as possible and get them on the card. Obviously Miz and Morrison are starting things with the New Day at the moment, so chances are they might get a tag match between now and WrestleMania. Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode are still doing their thing, and the Usos have just come back to SmackDown as well. Now, I wasn't entirely sure which way to go on this. I think really with his return and potentially joining them together in sort of an alliance again, I'm going to go with The Miz and John Morrison winning this. It kind of gives credence to John Morrison coming back. It's quite a nice little let's have a bit of nostalgia with those two as a tag team again. They do like to have Miz with a belt as and when they can, and yeah, it will just be quite a nice little reunion for the two of them until one or other ends up turning on the other and we get some kind of a program out of probably losing these belts somewhere down the line, say SummerSlam or Survivor Series, something like that. Next up we have a mixed tag team match, Rusev and Liv Morgan versus Lashley and Lana. Come on, this is definitely going this way for WrestleMania, isn't it? There's no way they're going to put the brakes on this feud before WrestleMania, and the way the company is, they will probably give this win to Lashley and Lana because Rusev seemingly can't win a damn thing. Which is a shame for Liv Morgan getting involved in this storyline, but what can you do? And finally, with all the tag matches, I don't necessarily think they're going to be happening in this order, by the way, because this is just tag, 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 tag. But on the Raw side of things, I think we are going to get a fatal four-way on there as well to get as many people on the card as possible. So we have got the Viking Raiders defending against Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe, who I think with the whole thing with AOP and Seth Rollins and everything will kind of form them as almost like a makeshift tag team for the time being, because the AOP will be involved in this match as well as the Street Profits too, and I think the AOP will walk away with the belts, and kind of more on them a little bit later on. Next up we have a US title match, again going probably fatal four-way, maybe triple threat, but probably fatal four-way again to get as many people on the card as possible. Andrade defending against Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins and Aleister Black. Obviously Drew McIntyre and Andrade aren't really involved in this feud at the moment, but it can easily be fed in the next kind of weeks and months. Aleister Black I see kind of being brought in to counter Buddy Murphy, as he has now joined Seth Rollins and AOP, and he will kind of take the place that the Big Show had just for a few weeks. And I think that Seth Rollins will pick up the belt here, so that we have Seth Rollins with the US title and the AOP with the tag team titles out of WrestleMania. Obviously, with the way things are going with the kind of top of the card with the WWE title, you kind of need the US title in as prominent position as possible, and I think that's why they will put the belt on Seth Rollins as quick as they can. We're going back to NXT now with the NXT title. Adam Cole defending against Tommaso Ciampa. So far, no match has been put together for Portland. Maybe Tommaso Ciampa has a go there, or it's a triple threat, something like that, and he effectively gets protected by not eating the pin. And I think instead of the NXT card having an NXT title match and potentially even a women's title match as well, I think they will get moved to the WrestleMania card, and I think this might be the time that Tommaso Ciampa gets his life back and wins back Goldie. And this could then potentially see the beginning of the end for the Undisputed Era on NXT, so that they can move to the main roster. Possibly even the night after WrestleMania, who knows. Speaking of the WWE title, as we were earlier, Brock Lesnar I think will be defending against Cain Velasquez. Obviously he is entering number 1 in the Royal Rumble, and I think basically what they're doing is whoever puts Brock out of the Rumble will eventually challenge him for the belt at WrestleMania. And if Cain gets that victory over him at the Royal Rumble, that will kind of be 1-1, obviously after what happened at, I believe it was Crown Jewel. So this will effectively be the rubber match between the two of them. And it pains me to say it, but I think they might then put the belt on Cain Velasquez, even if only for a few months, maybe as long as SummerSlam, or possibly even just Money in the Bank, where they can kind of get the belt straight off of him with the briefcase winner and kind of protect him. I think the mainstream coverage of giving Cain Velasquez the WWE title at WrestleMania is too good to be true for them. They just probably can't help themselves, and they will go hell for leather to make sure that happens. Interesting couple of matches coming now. First of all, Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. Yes, you heard me right. I realise she's not part of the company technically at the moment, although she is still under contract, but I do think she will come back at the Royal Rumble, potentially gunning for Charlotte Flair, setting up a program between the two of them, where effectively Ronda blames Charlotte Flair for her loss last year at WrestleMania against Becky Lynch, and obviously because Becky's not in the Rumble this year, she kind of targets Charlotte Flair as the main reason for why she lost her belt. And I know she took the pin, but they can kind of work it in that because Charlotte kind of potentially teamed up with Becky, or they can work a story around that quite easily as to they blame the third person, and if it wasn't for you being inserted into that match, my focus could have been solely on Becky and I would have beaten her. That kind of thing can be easily done. Ronda puts Charlotte out of the Royal Rumble, potentially Charlotte can then come back in and eliminate Ronda Rousey, and then we get these two facing each other at WrestleMania for Ronda Rousey to get another big win at WrestleMania. And then that could potentially put her on a collision course with Becky Lynch somewhere down the line. Speaking of Becky Lynch, she will be defending her Raw Women's Championship against the winner of the Royal Rumble, Shayna Baszler. There is no way they're keeping Baszler in NXT any longer. She's dropped the belt to Rhea Ripley. There's not really anything else for her to do in NXT now. She needs to come up to the main roster, and what a way to do it than win the Royal Rumble, and I think she will defeat Becky Lynch here and win the Raw Women's Championship. That could very interestingly set something up between her and Ronda Rousey later in the year as well. And finally, as the main event, the Universal title, The Fiend defending against Roman Reigns and, oh, this pains me to say this, but King Corbin. Now, hear me out on this. I see Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble, therefore getting this title shot, but obviously earlier in the night they are facing off against each other, aren't they? Roman Reigns and King Corbin, and if King Corbin manages to win that match, which I think he probably will, that still keeps him in the upper echelons. He can then argue that he should get that title match as well because he beat the Royal Rumble winner. That can very easily go into kind of a prolonged program between the two of them. Yes, drag it out even further, yippee, where Roman effectively puts his #1 contendership on the line. Corbin can kind of win dirty, or it can end in some kind of schmoz whereby they basically decide that Roman shouldn't be removed from the match because he didn't properly lose, but also Corbin technically should get inserted in as well because of, you know, reasons. And therefore we get this triple threat match. What we can also do with this being a triple threat match is have the Fiend retain, but he can pin Baron Corbin. Therefore protecting Roman a bit, because I still think if he pins the Fiend in the middle of the ring at WrestleMania, the crowd may turn on him, and we've gotten to a point where he is now a fan favourite, so we don't want to be doing that. But also it kind of protects Roman in the fact that he's not being defeated by the Fiend either, and that could then lead to a one-on-one between the two, Roman and the Fiend that is, later on down the line, with him taking the belt from him in a couple of months' time to kind of a lesser negative crowd reaction, shall we say. So there we go, they are my predictions for what the card for WrestleMania 36 will look like and who will potentially win those matches if they end up playing out that way. I'd just like it to be known that these are the matches that I think WWE will book towards. They're not all necessarily matches that I want to see. The whole King Corbin in the Universal title picture, for example, but that's how I see them kind of developing the next couple of months worth of storylines and potentially building towards that sort of a card. Please let me know in the comments below what you make of kind of how I see things. Do you agree or disagree wildly with anything that I'm suggesting? Do you have any suggestions of your own? Please let me know. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share wherever you can. And if you like the channel and the content that I'm putting out here, please give the channel a subscribe and continue supporting. Thank you for watching. This has been Pixels and Pinfalls. My name has been Edward, and I will see you again very soon. Goodbye. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. To keep up to speed with everything we're doing, you can find us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. If you wish to support us financially, you can do so over on Patreon for as little as $1 per month. Finally, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell icon so that you don't miss out on any future videos. Till next time, we'll see you very soon. Goodbye.